Welcome to Mysteries Niger. My name is Esther. I'm just going to throw you right in the middle of today's case. A mother calls her daughter, no response. She gives some time, calls again, no response. Goes to bed worried. The next day, no contact with her daughter, no communication. And later that day, she gets a call from her daughter's phone and she rushes to it. Oh my gosh, she's calling back. Thank God. She answers the phone and she hears a male voice. This is not the voice she was expecting. She was hoping to hear the angelic voice of her daughter, but here she is listening to a male voice. But at least it's a familiar male voice because that's the voice of her husband. So she asks him, "How are you?" He says he's okay. She asks how the kids are, her grandbabies are. He tells her they're okay. Finally, she asks him the question that she's been dying to ask him from the very moment she heard his voice. She asks, "How is my daughter?" He pauses, then he responds, "She went..." His voice trails off. She went where?" The mother asks. Silence. He responds back, She died earlier today." The mother is shocked. There's silence. But that was the answer she was waiting to hear from him, and she would have asked him how her daughter was doing as many times until she got that answer from him, because she already knew her daughter was dead. And what she couldn't understand was why he didn't tell her first, why she had to hear from someone else her daughter was dead. And if you think the son-in-law's response at first was weird, she went trying to make up some story, well, maybe he was trying to make up a story at the moment because he had promised her throughout the entirety of their marriage that he was going to kill her. This is the case of Osinachi Nwachukwu. But before we get into it, first, disclaimer. This episode discusses real events involving domestic abuse and loss of life. Listener discretion is advised. Information is based on publicly available reports and is presented for informational purposes only. All individuals in today's case are presumed innocent unless proven guilty in a court of law. Let's get into it. Today we're talking about the case of the late popular singer Osinachi Nwachukwu, who was born on the 12th of November 1979, and she had a twin sister. Her sister, who was also her twin, is Amarachi Grace E. She originally hailed from Abia State and she was raised in Enugu. She was raised in a strict Christian household and she also developed a passion for singing. She loved music and she had an amazing, beautiful, angelic voice. There is really nothing much I can tell you about her childhood because if you've noticed, most of the cases I share, there really aren't origin stories of the victims or the perpetrators because there really aren't records of them. And most times in criminal cases in Nigeria, reports mostly focus on the crime itself and not the backstory of the people involved in the case. Most times, these information could be available to the court, but for you to get your hands on it, you have to file for the necessary documents to be shared with you. These documents are not publicly available. So if you need to get your hands on it, you have to, one, either be directly involved in the case, like family of the victims, or you're the perpetrator, or two, you're a security worker, so you work for, say, the police or any other security agency that's involved directly in the case. Or three, you are part of the legal team that's directly involved in the case. So if you're not part of any of those groups, then you really don't get your hands on the documents and the information. And if you were to hire a lawyer to perhaps represent you and file for these things, some cases it might still not be available and you can't get it unless that said lawyer is directly involved in the said case. I would really like to tell you about these people, how they're raised, because in today's case, it would have really shone light on her mentality, because so many times people tried to help her, but her core beliefs wouldn't let her walk away. So before I tell you about the case, let me tell you how she met her husband. As a young girl, she starts to sing at the church choir from a very young age. So by the time she becomes a grown woman, she's already a powerful singer, and she has this amazing, beautiful voice. She was beautiful and very humble, calm, peaceful person, doesn't like confrontations, doesn't like fights, likes to mind her business, and would prefer peace with everyone. Never ever the type to instigate things or try to pour fuel on already burning fire. Instead, she would rather bleed herself to death and quench that fire with her blood. When she's a woman who's living her great life of being a gospel singer, she hangs out with the sister one time. I think it's said that it was in Abuja. They visited Abuja for some reason, some plans they made, but it took them to Abuja. When they got there, that's when they met the husband, and the husband's name is Peter Nwachukwu. When he met her, he was like starstruck. The minute he set his eyes on her, he was like, it was love at first sight. Sparks were flying for him alone, because it was a one-sided interest. She did not like him. She did not find him to be interesting at all, and she didn't even want to share her contact with him. So he approaches them and he introduces himself and tells her he likes her. So Osinachi, he tells her he likes her, and she wasn't interested, and she made it very clear she wasn't interested. But he wasn't willing to back down, because he felt like that's a challenge for him. He can't just back down now. So instead, he takes the twin sister's contact, her number, to call her. Twin sister Amarachi is the younger of the twin, so Osinachi was the eldest of the twin. They go back to their lives, and Peter kept on calling Amarachi, kept asking her to please talk to the sister, to accept him. Would keep on bombarding and bombarding and bombarding and bombarding. Eventually, Osinachi caved. When she caved, he immediately proposed to her. No courting, no dating, no honeymoon period, get to know each other period, nothing whatsoever. It was like typical love is blind moment. I meet you, I'm getting married to you at the end of the week. He proposes to her. He tells her, I'm an evangelist, I'm a pastor, so I'm a God-fearing man of God, and I will treat you well, I will take good care of you, and all that spiel. She was a gospel singer, grew up in a Christian household, so her belief of what evangelists and pastors should be like, how they should behave, was loving men, God-fearing men who would never raise their voice at their partner or their kids, their family, men who are respectful to everyone from children to adults, men who are selfless, protectors, providers. She accepted the proposal. And my personal belief, not that it means anything, I think one way or the other, he would have gotten her to accept his proposal, because she made it clear at first she wasn't interested in a relationship with him, but he kept hounding and hounding and hounding until she caved. So if she had turned down his marriage proposal, he would have done the same. Hound and hound and hound until she accepts it. They were set to get married. When he went to visit the bride's Osinachi's family, the mother was skeptical at first. He gave the whole speech that he's a man of God, he is God-fearing, he would take good care of her, that she's in good hands and all that. And eventually the family warmed up to him. They set the date for their marriage. As they're getting prepared for the marriage, he's being the perfect son-in-law, very considerate and nice, and no red flags at all. Now, the younger sister Amarachi was also about to get married around the same time as Osinachi, so they agreed. Since Amarachi's wedding was set to happen first, Osinachi was going to be Amarachi's chief bridesmaid. When it's time for Osinachi's wedding, Amarachi would be her chief bridesmaid. Wedding came around, Osinachi was her twin sister's chief bridesmaid. Everything was okay. wedding happened. Now it was time for Osinachi's wedding. Once it was time, Amarachi got prepared because, twins, once they have an agreement, they're locked in, fully loaded. It has to happen. Nothing can come between that plan. And they already agreed. You do this for me, I do this for you. That's how we're going to be of service to each other, out of love, out of our twin bond. When it was time for Amarachi to be Osinachi's chief bridesmaid, that's when Peter's true colors started to show, because he put his foot down and said no. Osinachi begged and pleaded. The sister begged and pleaded. Just let us have this. This is a twin thing. Don't ruin this for us, please. He put his foot down. It's not happening. Eventually, Osinachi had to ask one of her friends to become her chief bridesmaid. Amarachi was hurt, she was wrecked, she was devastated because that wasn't the plan. And twin things, you don't come in between that. So it really got to her. But eventually they got over it and the wedding happened in Enugu State. Afterwards, I believe they remained in Enugu State for about a year or a little over a year. So after the wedding, they're still in town, they live around. Osinachi gets pregnant with her first child. The sister also gets pregnant with her first child as well. So both twins are pregnant with their first babies. They go to the same hospital for prenatal and all the checkups and scans and care that the mother needs. I have no idea about that, but I know the mother needs all those care and attention to make sure the pregnancy is going well for her and safely. But unfortunately, Osinachi became ill during her pregnancy, needed to go to the hospital to have the medical staff keep their eyes on her and make sure she was okay at all times. She goes to the hospital and suddenly the husband came one evening when she got there. Allegedly, a few hours later, he showed up and dragged her out of the hospital and told her he was taking her home. She doesn't need any of the treatment and the care they were giving her there. But she was clearly sick. It was a tumultuous pregnancy for her. He dragged her home and she wasn't allowed to get any medical attention during the high-risk pregnancy. The sister found out about it and was really scared and upset about it because it could turn deadly. Pregnancy is already a fatal journey. Before she gave birth to the first baby, he relocated her to Abuja with himself. They moved to Abuja and that was where she gave birth to their first child, and the sister had the first child as well. Usually, back in Nigeria, we have post-birth care that the mother gives to her daughter who just birthed a baby. So if you have a daughter who just gave birth to a baby, the mother would go to visit her daughter who just had a baby and would take care of her for a few weeks, sometimes months, would go there and show her how to take care of a newborn, how to take care of herself so she could heal properly, feed her proper meals that will nourish her enough to nourish the baby and help her with the baby at that early stage. And this care is very pertinent because most times first-time mothers are clueless what to do. You need someone to tell you what to do. You need someone that already knows the ropes to tell you what they did that they believe still works today. When you add that to recent science and medical practices, you know which practices are outdated and are of no medical or scientific standing, and which practices that are relevant even if they are what our grandmothers used to practice. This is very important. Even when an African woman gets married, moves to any other continent in the world, gives birth, they would buy plane tickets for their mother to travel over to wherever they're living in the world to provide this care. I don't live in Nigeria, but if I were to have a baby now, I would buy a ticket for my mother to come meet me wherever I am to provide this care. Now imagine living in the same country with your mother. She can be there in a few hours, but your husband tells you no. not happening. That's what he did to her. When she gave birth to her first baby, he told her mother, "You are not coming. I'm not going to allow it." And nothing she said would change his mind. Nothing her mother would say could change his mind. She didn't get that care. She had to learn everything on her own as a first-time mother. And to make matters worse, when she gave birth to her first baby, he didn't tell her mother that she gave birth. He told her not to tell her family she gave birth. So her family didn't know she gave birth. They just waited a few months and they were like, she should have given birth by now. But they ended up hearing from others that she had given birth, and they called, and that's when they confirmed, yes, we gave birth to a baby, but you're not coming for the afterbirth care. So then she got pregnant with a second baby. Same thing happened. He refused her mother coming to give her care and help. She got pregnant with the third baby, and the same thing happened. He refused care. Then she got pregnant with the fourth baby, and this man did the same thing still. He wouldn't let the mother come. This care is the pride and joy. It's inauguration into becoming a grandmother. Doesn't matter if that's not your first grandbaby. Grandmothers live for that moment where they start showering their grandchild with love and care, and shower their daughters, who they might see them as mothers now, but when they see their daughters vulnerable and tired from task of giving birth, it reminds them that this daughter is still their baby. Every mother needs this, and he denied her mother that 4 times. Now around this time, when she got married, for the first year, the whole of the first year, he wouldn't let her speak to any of her family members except for the twin sister. She wasn't allowed to see them, visit them, or speak to them on the phone, but she could communicate with the twin sister because they were going to the same hospital for their prenatal care. That was the only way she was able to see the sister. After that, they are in Abuja. Her brother lived in Abuja too, but he lived in one of the poorest part of Abuja. Abuja is the capital of Nigeria, and it's a booming city. Rents are expensive. Cost of living is expensive. It's the same struggle as if you were to live in Lagos or in LA. He lived within his means, and even though he stayed in the same Abuja as the sister, anytime he visited the sister, he wouldn't be allowed in the house to actually see his sister. He would be chased away and not allowed to see the sister. And every single time the grandbabies, as they're growing, they're asking about their mother's extended family, grandparents and all that. He would tell the children that they have no link to their mother's side of the family, so they shouldn't even think of them or even worry about getting to know them. Osinachi's father ended up dying. He wouldn't even go to the funeral. He just completely ignored it, like his father-in-law didn't die. He didn't care. On the 8th of April 2022, Osinachi died, and before she died, she was in the hospital for a while. She was taken there because apparently she was really ill, and she was taken to the hospital for care. When news of her death broke, everyone was shocked. The whole country, the whole world, because she was an international singer. And once she died, the husband told people, the family and all, that his wife died of throat cancer. And the family was like, why are we just hearing about this now? What do you mean? Because remember the call from the beginning that I mentioned? Yeah, the day before she died, she spoke to her mother, and the mother asked her how she was, and she said she was okay, but she just had a headache. She was going to be fine, that it was just a simple headache. And the mother said okay. So the mother prayed for her, blessed her, and thanked God for everything, for her life and all. Later that evening, the mother called her to see how she was doing, if the headache subsided or if she was still having it. And daughter daughter didn't answer. So she waited for some time, and then she called again. The daughter still didn't answer. So she waited till the next day, and then she called again in the morning. Daughter still didn't answer. Then she spoke to a friend of the daughter that was at their house, usually would go to their house sometimes and help clean. She spoke to the woman. The woman told her that she had come to Osinachi's house to make some food to take to Osinachi, and she took the food to the hospital where she was, and when she got there, she wasn't in her room. The bed was empty. So she asked, and they told her that Osinachi had died and she was moved to the morgue. So that was how her mother found out that Osinachi had died. But they waited to hear from Peter, and he still didn't call to tell them anything until later that evening, around 8 p.m. that he called and told them, yeah, actually your daughter died earlier today, after he tried to formulate a story to tell her instead of the truth. That was when they asked what happened, how did she die? And he told them that she had throat cancer. So they asked him, how come our daughter had throat cancer this entire time and you said nothing about it? But then the family, they didn't believe him because they already were aware of years of abuse, all forms of abuse you can think of, from financial abuse to physical abuse to emotional abuse to mental abuse. Remember, she was an internationally known singer. She sang with a lot of other artists. She made gospel songs that were inspiring and healing and just spirit-filled, and these songs were famously known, and it also opened more opportunities for her. She worked with a lot of people. She got support from people who supported her work, and any single time she was booked for a show or a church conference or convention, any event where she had to go sing and praise the Lord and inspire people and just worship God together with the congregation, they would have to send the money directly to his account. He's not her manager, he's not her assistant or anything, he's not her financial advisor, but he was her jailer. Any earnings she made had to be paid directly into his account, and if she was contacted for any event or occasion where she had to go sing, she would have to ask her husband, is it okay if I go? Is it okay if I sing here? And if he says no, you're not allowed to sing there, she wouldn't sing there. She was the breadwinner of the family. He allegedly didn't have a job, had no job, but they were living a comfortable and good life within their means. And she was the breadwinner. She was the one making all the money. The money were always paid directly into his account, and she'd have to go to him and ask for money for anything she needed money for, while having to explain why she needs the money and what she wants to spend the money on and how she's going to spend the money. And if it's for the kids, she has to also tell him that it's for the kids and what it's for. But it's her money. As if that wasn't bad enough, he was I'm the man of this house type of man. What he says goes. If she should question anything, if she should have a say or an opinion over anything, he would beat her up in front of the kids, not in front of the kids, in public, not in public. It didn't matter where, when, or why. He would beat her up when he felt like it. He just needed her to breathe a little too loud, and that would be enough reason to beat her. And as if that wasn't enough, allegedly, he turned his children into abusers. And these children are minors, little babies, minors. The height of their rebellion would be to fight each other over candy. But he would tie the mother up. According to the children's testimony, they testified that he would tie their mother up and would force them to beat her as punishment for whatever reason. He had to do that to her. Also, mental and emotional abuse. He would talk her down. He would bring her down. He would say whatever hurtful thing he could to bring down her morale, break her, and make sure that she is not the woman he met. He was intimidated by her. He was intimidated by her success. So he would do anything to feel an ounce of superiority over her, even though he was lesser than her. When she died and her family came out, gave interviews, and told the whole world about the abuse, and they told the whole world about everything I just told you, because This whole episode, I based it entirely on the family's interviews, and they said that the police had to start looking into him. He was arrested and an autopsy was done on Osinachi. Then he was charged and taken to court. At the court, about 17 witnesses were called to the stand to testify about the abuse that he meted out on the wife. Witnesses included several members of the family, church members, colleagues, her hairdressers, and even her tailor. Now, the tailor, when she testified, she actually said, now this part, I couldn't see videos of the testimony, so I'm going to make it clear. Don't quote me on it. I am only recounting what I watched from another documentary about this case. According to the documentary by Nezeville, she said, because she's a lawyer and it's possible for her to get these informations. And you can see she was reading from her phone, possibly the transcript of the court testimony. So she said, the hairdresser said that the first time she actually met Osinachi, the singer, was when the husband brought the singer to her shop to be measured for an outfit he wanted to get tailored for her. And when he drove them there, he got out of the car, walked towards the shop, and told the wife something along the lines of, "Idiot, come out here." She was shocked. The tailor was shocked because when she looked, she realized that he was calling his own wife an idiot. The wife got measured, but when you're making your clothes tailored, there are so many fittings and fittings and fittings until it's perfect. So during those visits and all, eventually Osinachi opened up to the tailor and told her about the abuse. Some of the abuse were also corroborated by the minor children later on in court, and she told the tailor, which is also what the children told the court, that she was gifted 2 cars, sponsors who wanted to support her, and she needs to drive to studios and drive back, and it's safer for her if she has her own car to drive to studio and back, and to the congregations where she has to sing and back. She was gifted 2 different cars. The husband wouldn't let her drive the car. He claimed both cars. So if she had to go anywhere, he would ask her to ride a bike to wherever she's going. Remember the bike from some of the other cases I mentioned where a bike rider would come take you with his bike to wherever you're going? He would tell her to do that instead. When she got gifted 2 beautiful and well-functioning cars that are safer for her, he claimed those cars alongside her money he was already stealing. That sometimes when she's lucky enough to ride in the car with him, maybe they're going to church or returning from church, that sometimes if she were to say something that's not even provoking, but he finds it provoking, he would just stop the car at the side of the road, wherever it was, and kick her out and drive home, leaving her behind. Other times, if he was upset about something at the church or wherever they went, he would just not even let her get in the car. He would abandon her at wherever they had gone to and return home without her, even if the kids were in the car with them. One of the kids testified that one time he was upset at her at the church, and after church he left her behind, took the kids in the car, and she was standing by the road in the sun waiting for a means to get home, and they drove past her. The kids just looked at her through the window and waved at her, and they felt bad for her. Another time, he got upset at her in the car as they were driving home. He stopped by the roadside, kicked her out, drove home, and she tried to find her way home, but she got mugged by some street thugs. She got mugged. They took her purse, her phone, and everything. When she got home, she told the husband what happened. It's said that he said something to the tunes of, "You're lucky you weren't killed, which is what you deserve." Sorry, my brain is a bit foggy, but he did say something that was very distasteful. I'm not sure exactly, so I'm not quoting, but he said something very distasteful about that incident of her being mugged. Now, her family, whenever they found out about the abuse, whenever they saw her with bruises, or they heard from others, her colleagues, everyone's talking, this is not right. They would talk to her and tell her to leave him. Even the mother said when she gave birth to the first child and she wasn't allowed to come take care of the child was about a year, and then she got pregnant with the second baby. when she gave birth to her second child, the baby was just a few months old, and he beat her and threw her out with the newborn baby, wouldn't let her inside, and she ran to Enugu with the baby to stay with her mother. And for a year and 3 months, he didn't care. And after a year and 3 months, he started going by and apologizing and begging, and eventually she went back to Abuja with him. One of the kids testified that at times he would beat her, throw her out of the house, and he wouldn't let her in all night. She would have to sleep outside in public all night by herself, kicked out of the home that she's probably paying for, home she's keeping the lights on with her money. And other times, even after kicking her out for days, he still wouldn't let her in. Neighbors would have to come beg him to let her in. And when her family and everyone would tell her to leave him, she'd say no, she doesn't believe in divorce. They were married in the face of God, in the face of the law. God doesn't like divorce, so she can't divorce him, that he will change. The mother said, no, he cannot change. Someone like him cannot change. Leave him. Separate from him. Just separate. If you think divorce is such a sin, separate from him then. You should worry too much about him. And I don't know if it's normal or if there's something supernatural going on there, but she would worry about him and she would still go back to him. In court, the prosecutors charged him on 23 counts, including homicide. They presented the evidence of the abuse. They called the witnesses to the stand, and the witnesses testified and all that. And when they were done, it was time for the defense to present their own case. But instead, they submitted a no case submission, meaning that whatever the prosecutors presented was circumstantial, wasn't substantial enough for there to be an actual case. It was meaningless. There was no case there to even look into. So this whole thing should be thrown out. The judge should just throw this whole business they've been doing out. There's no case. The judge decided that there was a case there and threw out the no case submission and told them to open their own case. So the defense presented their own case and they said, well, Your Honor, look at the autopsy report. I mean, this report alone debunks everything else. My client is not a terrible person. He would never hurt a fly. They didn't use those words, but you know, they always try to paint their client in the brightest light ever. The autopsy, the report, the cause of death, Your Honor, bilateral leg swelling. Okay, tumor deposit in and on heart, lungs, and kidney. Your Honor, you remember what my client said to her parents? Cancer of the throat, tumor, same thing. Also, there was massively enlarged heart. And also in the same autopsy report, it said, no mark of violence. No mark of violence, Your Honor. My client is not guilty. Because that was their plea from the beginning. Not guilty plea. So this autopsy proves it even more. Not guilty, Your Honor. Next case, my client should be home by now. Because at this point, he was still in jail. He would have to be held in jail until pronounced innocent, and then he would be released. And he was held with no bond, so he couldn't pay any bond and get out. So they said, Your Honor, autopsy report, that is our only evidence. No abuse, because here it says no mark of violence. There is mention of tumor, lungs, heart, kidney. My client said she had cancer, so that's it.
Get the whole world because I've suffered a lot. Please. I've suffered. I abandoned. What killed my wife is lungs, cancer of the lungs. What killed my wife? I didn't kill my wife. Cancer of the lungs. What killed my wife? Osinachi Nwachukwu. So I'm suffering for what I didn't pass through. What I don't know.
The prosecutors, their evidence included hospital scans, hospital reports, pictures, audio recordings, and also the testimonies of witnesses, including their minor children. The hospital reports and the scans and the ultrasounds and all that showed that she had injuries internally. She had internal injuries, and prior to her death, the husband had beat her at home. The children were there, they witnessed it, and he was dumping on her heart. He was stomping on her chest. And eventually, right after that abuse, she ended up at the hospital. And a few days later, she died. Autopsy said massively enlarged heart, plus audio recordings of the abuse. So even if she did have cancer, the cancer wasn't what killed her. It was the abuse, that stomping on the chest, according to the testimonies. If the stomping on the chest did happen, then the autopsy report lines up with that massively enlarged heart, and she died from that. The court reviewed everything, cross-examination and presenting their cases. Then both sides did their closing. The court passed the judgment and they found Peter Nwachukwu guilty of the counts against him. Then he was sentenced to capital punishment, which is death. If you commit crimes like homicide, rape, kidnapping, and the likes, you usually get death by hanging. And if you commit crimes like armed robbery, kidnapping with deadly weapon, or any crime involves you carrying deadly weapon with you, you likely get killed by firing squad. So his case carried the judgment of death by hanging, and he was taken back to prison. And this case is really sad because at the end of the day, a beautiful life was taken, a life that didn't need to be lost. And I have nothing to say about this case. I feel like I still need to live a lot of more years to even have an idea how to join the conversation on matters like this. All I can say is it's a painful loss. Her kids will miss her, her family will miss her, and if only this wasn't the case. Well, we've come to the end of this case, and I know there's so much more information that are out there that I did not include in this case, but I try to stick my information to either verified sources like the interview of the family members or from the YouTube page of Nezaville, whom I know is a lawyer herself. So any information she puts out there are really verified. So I try to base my information on verified sources only. There are tweets out there, comments out there, stories out there, even comments of people being against the husband being given the death sentence, saying things like it was a harsh punishment, or that now the kids will be orphaned, that their mother's already gone, why take their father away as well? And these are distasteful comments. You want a murderer, an abuser who even forced them to abuse their mother, allegedly, to raise them, and so many men that society could call misogynists. And yes, their comments are really distasteful, but I'm not one to slap labels on people for exercising their freedom of speech rights. But you see actual criminals, people who commit hard, terrible crimes, I don't mind calling them devils. I don't mind calling them Satan. I don't mind calling them scums. Yeah. If someone's just saying their piece that I don't agree with, it's their piece, it's their phone, it's their internet. Let them say what they want to say. They're also exposing themselves because now we all know who they are really on the inside and their beliefs and if you're supporting a person like this, you're more likely a person like that. I try to minimize the other information like people's tweets and all that I couldn't verify myself. And if there's any additional verified information about this case, please do let me know in the comment below. Like and share, and please rate this show. It will really help with the show and the algorithm. And lastly, please do your own research, form your own opinions. My opinion is not to sway yours, and these cases are again for educational purposes. So please do your own due diligence. Verify it for yourself. Thank you so much for joining me on today's episode. I love you for showing up, and I hope I see you next week when I upload a new episode. Oh yeah, I almost forgot my classic closing. Please take care of yourself. Be careful. And today I'm going to add a little extra. If you see something say something. If you know something, do something. Because neighbors that helped beg the husband to take her back, maybe they could have done more. Maybe they should have done more. I don't know if they were in the position to do so. Neighbors were aware, friends were aware, family members were aware, but I can see family members not doing more. At the end of the day, I don't want to hurt her because she's already hurting. I don't want to go behind her back and go against her wishes. They have loyalty towards her. Friends, their loyalty is on a different level. Neighbors, your loyalty is surface level. Come on, neighbors snitch a lot. If they were partying all the time, playing loud music, they would report it. Nuisance, too much noise. But when they see actual abuse, most times neighbors don't say anything because it could become a big mess, could become a big case that involves a lot of people and involves them showing up and repeating their story, recounting it again and again and again. And I understand how that can be very discouraging and so burdensome to do. So I can understand the neighbors feeling that way. I don't want anyone putting me on the spotlight and asking me to repeat myself, repeat what I said earlier. And perhaps that's why they did nothing. But please, if you see something, say something. If you know something, do something. Okay? See something, say something. Know something, do something. I love you so much. Please be safe. Live and let live. I'll see you in the next episode. But until then, take care. Bye.